Hi, I'm Alex Bortolatti, and this is the Weekend Update. To start things off, in the 1800s, Europe partitioned Africa. They divided it amongst themselves, with Great Britain getting the largest part, because Great Britain definitely needs a larger island for its ego.
Our next story takes us to Russia in the March of 1917. The people were upset with the Tsar because he was treating them unfairly, so they marched to his palace. The Tsar's troops were unwilling to fire upon the crowds, so the Tsar had to step down. How did they do this, you might ask? Well, they simply gathered outside the palace and started chanting bread. I mean, haven't you ever had thousands of angry people outside your house chanting bread? I mean, it's quite intimidating.
So, thanks to imperialism, at the time that World War I started, most of Europe was in a state of extreme tension. This caused them to draw out a series of alliances and treaties and secret alliances that bound them all together, so that when Syria and Austria went to war, pretty much the whole world went to war. It just makes you marvel at the cruelty of it all the chemical warfare, the bombing, the tanks, the killing of innocent people. And seriously, how could you kill a guy with such a great mustache?
Go.
June 1919, the Treaty of Versailles has been signed. This marks the end of World War I. Is the treaty at all cruel, sadistic, crippling, devastating? Maybe a little, but it's not like Germany will care, right? Nah. So, after World War II, the League of Nations was formed out of 40 countries who came together and decided that they would keep the peace through diplomacy rather than guns and bombs and bad things like that. Unfortunately, they held practically no political power or economic power. So if you can imagine sending a 2-year-old up to stop a fight between two grown men, that didn't work out very well. So thanks a lot, Woodrow.
In 1925, Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator, had created a totalitarian state. He had the obedience of everyone in the country, he controlled the economy, and he censored the lives of the Italian people. Soon afterwards, other dictators such as Hitler and Stalin took his lead. Wasn't he such a great role model? Hitler used the Jews as an excuse for Germany's problems. This gave everyone in Germany a common enemy. So, after that, 6 million Jews were killed in concentration camps. This became known as the Holocaust. It was such a huge surprise to everybody. I did not see it coming.
After the end of World War II, the Allies held war trials to punish Axis leaders of war crimes. Many of these leaders were given death sentences or put into prison. The United Nations was set up after World War II to ensure peace, but ended up doing much more. The UN would take on many problems, from disease control to, let's say, aiding refugees. This also caused the Allies to become more separated or distant from each other, which allowed the Cold War to step in or to start. And this also marks the time when the communists were rushing to complete the installation of communism in other countries. Kids across the country are practicing hiding under desks due to nuclear war being an imminent possibility. Good thing half an inch of wood will save you from a nuclear missile.
So, in World War II, you had a lot of leaders in the various parties that were involved in the war. You had Franklin Roosevelt, who was the president of the United States. You had Eisenhower, who was one of his generals. You also had MacArthur, who was general in the Pacific. He helped fight Japan in the Philippines and stuff. You had Churchill in Britain, who was a prime minister and was later voted as president. You had Mussolini, who was a totalitarian ruler in Italy, controlled everyone's lives. You have Stalin, who was the communist leader of the Soviet Union. You had Tojo, who was a military leader in Japan, and Hirohito, who was Emperor of Japan. And last but not least, you had Hitler, who was the dictator of Germany. And we happen to have him as a guest tonight, here in front of you. Everyone, Hitler. Alright. So, Olaf, how's it going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
How's the Third Reich coming along?
I'd say it's going pretty dang strong. I'd say we'll probably be around for another 1,000 years.
1,000 years, that's a pretty long time. How do you plan to achieve that goal?
Well, I'm not really supposed to talk about it, but there's this whole plan called the final solution. It'll work.
That sounds pretty drastic. What does this final solution involve?
Like I said, I'm not supposed to talk about it.
So, what's your ultimate goal for the Third Reich?
Probably take over Europe and eliminate all non-Aryans.
Eliminate all non-Aryans. Does it bother you at all that you're not an Aryan?
I gotta go help with Operation Sea Lion. Thank you. Heil Hitler.
That guy's infuriating.